Hi guys, my name is Siphelele and welcome to my channel. And today I finally decided that I'm going to talk about how I bought my first property that I've been renting out. It's been a year, and how I got into all of that. So for over, I could say 10 years, maybe 10 years, 8 to 10 years, I have always had an interest of buying a property that I can rent out and like earn passive income and maybe like grow and develop into that space where it could be like my main income, main industry, main, because I'm very passionate about that and I find it very fascinating. Anyway, so I was fortunate. I would call it fortunate because I don't think if I had worked in a bookshop before would have exposed me to that amount of information. Reading up on books about passive income, reading up on books about property development, and all those things. And I'm going to paste on the side a one book that was like the determining factor for me, by Jason Lee. I just forgot the name of the book, but I'm gonna make sure that I put the picture up. I loved it so much. I do remember the author, that it was Jason Lee. I loved it so much because what I find interesting about it was that it was talking about things that are happening in South Africa. And as a South African, and you're reading books that are written abroad, it makes it kind of difficult. The numbers that they're talking about, they're not relatable to you. You would be reading them saying they bought a property for $55,000, and you're thinking, "Hi, 55,000, I can do it." Kanti we are right deep next to like millions in South African rent. So no, yeah. So that book was very interesting for me. It helped me so much in terms of understanding that type of environment, concept, and things that you can look at. So fast forward, I immediately, when I resigned there, when I started working in the company that I'm working for, in a banking industry, the first thing that I wanted to do was to I wanted to buy this first flat, and I've been searching and looking. I remember in my first year, I I probably went to view more than 10 flats in Pretoria, around Pretoria, and I was looking and searching and searching and looking. I was determined by my buying price, and didn't work out. Nothing came together. I don't know, maybe I wasn't ready for any of that, or maybe I rushed the process, but it just didn't come together. And I was frustrated somehow, but then I was like, I'm not giving up on this. I am still going to continue. And I was like, okay, maybe let me shift my focus into something else, and maybe that will come. Oh, the other thing that made it not to work out is I finally found one. It was in Pretoria Central. I made an offer, and this is like my first year of employment, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna break all the rules and be groundbreaking according to my books. So it turns out, okay, so the offer purchase that I'd signed obviously had said if I don't get 100% cover, or no, 100% offer, I won't take up. So obviously all banks, declined me. I remember saying this to my agent, like, have you tried SA Home Loans? And he said he didn't. So they were using an originator. Okay, so I remember I had said to my agent after he came back with the feedback that all the banks rejected my application, which was well expected because at that moment I didn't understand what I was doing, like the full scope of what should I prepare myself with. I was just eager that I'm gonna get a flat, I'm gonna rent it out, that it's gonna pay itself, and I'm just going to sell it in like 5 to 10 years, and I would have made so much money. And girl was not ready. Girl didn't research. Girl didn't understand what she was doing. But then at the same time, when that happened, I asked him if he had sent my application to SA Home Loans, and he said no. I got in contact with the lady who was an originator, I think it was from Uber and the origination company, and I asked her to forward my application to SA Home Loans, and she's like, she's not a fan, blah 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 blah. But I was like, can you please submit it or give me my documents so that I can send it myself? Okay, so since I was putting pressure, they sent it. So SA Home Loans approved me for 80%. Then I'm like, okay, now I know that it's not like bullying ngamacala, like it wasn't that. It's just that my credit behavior and my credit score was not high enough or trustworthy enough to give you a bond for 20 years to banks, if like I were to explain it in the most simplest form. So I was like, okay, obviously I don't have a difference of the other amount, so for that reason I'm not going to continue. And I cut my losses. There was nothing for me to pay because my offer to purchase was very specific that it must be 100% offer from the bank. So that was it. So after that I was like, I'm being very honest and transparent with things that were happening in my life. I remember I had a personal loan that I was still paying off, and my income wasn't like at the highest amount, but to me it was still able to cover a bond and rates and taxes, like all those things. I was able to cover those. I was going to be able to cover for those things because I made it a point that my purchasing price was very low, which means I was, like I said, I was approaching to buy in CBD, in Pretoria CBD. So after that, I was like, okay, let me push finishing my debts and like fast track the process, and then I'll move on with life and I'll pick it up again. Let's see. So fast forward, I changed directions. Then I had an interest in, like, I know now I want to buy a car. Pushed for that, and I bought a car. And when I bought a car, I had finished paying for a personal loan. So I'm talking about big amounts that are coming off from my income. So now I'm shifting from personal loan, I'm taking car financing. Yeah, I know, but anyway, life is lifing. So I got a car. I obviously started paying for it. Fast forward, I remember lifing, found myself taking up a credit card. So I took up a credit card with I'm not sure if I want to disclose the banks that I've been taking these products with. But anyway, I took up a credit card with FNB. And yeah, life went on and on and on and on and on. So as life is fast forwarding, I somehow like had this intuition, 2020, yes, that let me see if I can go back to what it was. I'd never given up completely on buying a property. I'd always been going back to Property 24, searching, seeing where things are, you know, try to be in contact with that agent that I once worked with, find out if they still have something. But then I've noticed that his selling scope wasn't like low prices with what I was looking for. So it wasn't gonna work out for me for like with what I wanted to do. So in 2020, this was like right at the ripeness of COVID. I remember I wanted to check if I can, how do I say it, like swap my credit card from one provider to another one. So I checked the interest rate that I could be offered in a different bank. Went to a different bank and I checked what offer could I get, and to my surprise, and remember this is a time where prime lending was being dropped like crazy, I found out that I can get a credit card at 7%. And can you imagine that at the other one I was paying 17.5%? Bantu benkosi, yo ndaphela ibhanki mntakabawo, taking every penny that it could at 17.5% interest rate. So when I saw that offer of 7%, I didn't even flinch. I literally said, listen, I'm taking this, I'm going to pay that off, I'm going to close it, I am gone, done and dusted. So when that happened, I was like, if I can get 7% on a credit card, how would be my standing if I were to try to buy property again now? You mustn't forget now that I am still paying for a car. Now I have things like credit card that I have to pay, and I'm still interested in buying a property. But my mind is still determined that even if I still buy, it's going to be for rental. It's not going to be where I stay. Great. Still not moving from the cause of what I want to do. So I went back to my favorite app, Property 24. Searched and searched and searched and searched. So now I had somehow understood that, okay, I needed to build a solid credit score. My years of employment were now not 1 year, it's like 4 years, and my income bracket has changed so much from when I was still starting. There's been quite a number of raise in the bar of income because of the years working. So good, that's not a problem. Yeah, my lips are so dry. So cool, that's not a problem. I decided to, okay, let me search and see. So first things first for me was location. Where do you want to buy? So I decided that I'm still buying in Pretoria because I stay in Pretoria. but where in Pretoria? Pretoria is very big. There's north, there's south, which is Centurion, there's west, there's east, and with all those different locations, demarcations determine the price because of surroundings. So with what I had kind of noticed was places like your south, which is Centurion, and your east, they're very suburban, if I were to say it. Place people where they raise families. There's I don't know how to put this, like, but like amakaya in a way, like it's household homes type of things, and I'm looking for like a flat that can be able to yield a high rental, which could be in an area that is like not necessarily like high demand, but you can still be able to cover all your overheads from the property. Okay, cool. So I looked at the north. The north, in my, remember these are all my opinions. The north for me, yes, it was being developed so much, but I found that the price range in the north was not in my price range. My price range was let's starting from 100. I know it's very strange, but you'd be surprised. Starting from 100,000, and max being 250. At that point, I was like, it ends here. I cannot go above 250. Then I noticed that West is like an old type of Pretoria, where I find maybe people have not been paying a lot of attention to it, especially if you just live the outside of town. So it's, you would say, like the neglected part of town. The central, yes, but central, you need to have inhliziyo, a very strong liver, to be able to make sure that one is working for you. Because I was like, the central, it's overly populated, and in terms of keeping tenants that can keep your property intact, and it might be like a headache just thinking that it's not burning down because you're not there. So my location was narrowed down that it would be the west. Okay, so I found location. Now I'm looking at prices, and I looked at prices. I looked, yeah, it was touch and go here and there, and until I found one. I think the one that I saw was 230, the first one. There was also another one for 195. I think I'd seen three with one agent. And with that one, I was like, okay, let me go see. But before I contacted him and I went to see, I did something that, which is a very big step, important step, that you need to do this step to make sure that you know exactly what you are doing. It's called pre-approval. Pre-approving, you send it to an originator. I only know two, but I'm sure there's more if you research. There's Uber and there is Better Bond. So I pre-approved with Better Bond of until how much can I purchase for. So they will definitely go into their website, ask them to contact you, or you just put in your details and send, and an agent will contact you. And they want your, obviously, your salary slips or pay slips and bank statements, so that they can see your expenses, your income, and be able to determine how much are you going to be able to afford in terms of property that you can buy and how much are you expected. Uh, mm, Roughly estimates of interest, looking at what your credit score is saying that you can buy. So I did that. I found out how much I can. I was like, okay, this is very interesting and it's very enticing. By the look of things, I can even buy like 2 properties at the same time, because if they're saying I can afford up until this amount, I can. But I'm not crazy. I wasn't gonna do that. It was not gonna work out. So I was like, okay, this is cool. Now that I know how much I'm buying, my price range is my max. My this is my determining fact. I always tell people, make sure whatever you do, when you have a pre-approval, buy under that amount, because you still need room for quite a number of things that you need to consider when you're buying. So I decided, okay, fine. I have a price, I have a location. Now my search is starting to be serious. I found 3 properties and I was like, okay, let me go view. Contacted an agent, went to view, and the other one was seemed like it was pricey. There was offers of cash, and I was like, okay. Then there was one complex which I loved. There were actually 2. I was like, if anything happens, can it be in between these 2? So one, I was not necessarily ready to put an offer, but it seemed like the owner wasn't sure if they are selling anymore. The person is not coming back and being specific about the like information that I wanted to find out from them. Things like history of tenants, any like damages into the properties, things that I need to expect before I make. And these are important things. You mustn't just fall in love with the property. You must be ready and ask questions, because you need to know what's happening. Otherwise, you're going to be investing into a flooding house, and what are you going to do? You've already bought this thing and you're stuck with it, and it's not working out. So I wanted this information. This person was not getting back to the agent. I was like, okay, you know what, let's cut the losses. And then the other one, the rates of the other complex that I wanted to buy in were so high, like they were ridiculous. I was like, what, do they clean the inside of the flat for you to pay such ridiculous rates? I was like, I don't know. I was like, no ways. No, it's not gonna work out for me, because if I still want to get a return um, of of the rental that will cover the bond and the rates, I promise you, I don't think I was going to make any of that. Fine, okay. So things died down. I think maybe a month or so, the agent contacts me again and is like, are you still interested in buying? I'm like, yes. It's like, there's another one in the same complex, and this is the asking price. It looks exact, because those flats, they all look the same. It's like, it looks the same as the one that I showed you. You don't have to come and see it. I was like, send me pictures. It's like, okay. He sent me pictures. Then I asked the list of questions that I had for him, damages, leaks, all these things. It's like, no, everything is fine. The only thing that is not there, apparently it hasn't been there, it's a stove. I'm like, a stove? He's like, yes. I'm like, oh, okay. At least I know what's happening. But I got such a very decent agent, a person who was really willing to, because I told him this is my first time. He was able to walk me through this process and be able to give me proper advice and all these things. So he had suggested that on the OTP the offer to purchase, I must state that I want a stove to be installed or fixed if it's broken. But he said I must say I want a stove. So when we drafted that, he mentioned that there must be a working stove in the property. Okay, fine. So after maybe a week, I was like, you know what? Let's put an offer. So the asking price was 260. I think maybe I was too excited because this is the one thing that I didn't negotiate at all. I don't know why. Like, I always ask myself, why didn't you ask this person to like even drop it by like 10,000 and say 250 is my maximum? Because I was the only person who put an offer. There wasn't many offers because he literally just approached me that there's one that's selling. Do you want to put an offer? And I said yes. And it was 260. It was still within the buying range and everything, and the rental was still able to pay the rates, the 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 bond, because that was basically what I wanted to do. So we placed an offer, and I was like, oh, let's see what banks are going to say, because I mean, we don't know. And also, like I said, I'd also signed once again a full 100%. I told him, I don't have any money sitting anywhere waiting for you to say you want a 10% deposit. Andinayo deposit booty. And that is wrong in actual essence, because you must have a deposit anyway. Why you must have a deposit? Not necessarily must, but it's good when you have a deposit, because if you have a deposit, it decreases your purchase price, it decreases your installment that you're going to pay, and it allows you to have more money that you can pay back to your bond to finish faster, obviously. So we placed, okay, bank 1 said nope, bank 2 said nope, bank 3 I said yes, but I think they offered me 10%. And remember, in 2020 rates had gone so low, it was 7%. That was prime lending, and they're like 10%. I'm like, just hold it, there's one more person that I still need to find out from. Okay, and then bank X, which was the last one, took longer than the others, which was now alarming. I'm like, okay. Then they came back and they offered me a 7.5. I was like, Pakati inside. This one, I'm not even asking, I'm in, because even if I wanted to negotiate it down, which also I didn't, to me I was like, 7.5, it's literally is prime plus 0.5, and it wasn't bad at all. So I was like, okay, no questions asked, I'm going with that one. When I had accepted their offer, the ball started running. Like, I was like, am I sure about this thing? Because now I'm scared. I'm like, am I sure that I am going to be paying this thing for 20 years? For 20 years. But I was still committed that this I've always wanted. It's been a dream. Like, I've always wanted to do this thing. It started rolling. Now the big guns are coming out. Lawyers are coming in. Okay. So when the process started, I had the lawyers from the bank asking about, for the transfers and all these things. And yeah, the process took, I think it was up to, because I started in, the first viewing was in March. I think my offer to purchase was in April. I got an approval, or maybe a final determined that it's been registered at the deeds office in August. I remember, I think it was the 23rd of August. So that's like April, May, June, July, August. It was 4 months. And in that 4 months, it's like I said, it's still right in the middle of COVID times, and so many things are happening. I remember the deeds office had closed maybe 3 times when they were trying to lodge my registration. And when it closes, it would close for like a week, and then they work for 2 days or 3 days. It was a disaster. But it finally happened, and in that process, once it starts happening, first set of lawyers, they want you to transfer their fees. I had to have money ready, and my fees, my lawyer fee costs in total, I think they were about 25,000. So the lawyer fees are determined around the price of the property that you buy. So finally, in all of that, and I didn't know, excuse me, I had to have life insurance, and this life insurance had to be seeded into your home loan, which means that if you pass away, instead of your family having to maybe auction or the bank repossessing the property, they don't have to worry about that. A portion of your life insurance pays the outstanding debt, and then they can still own the property in full. I had to do those things. Those are the extra costs that you are not ready for, you need to be ready for. So that's how I bought my first property. And this video is long and I've been taking for long, but I'm so happy that I finally sat down and I talked about this, because I've always wanted to share the story. I think on the next video that I will do, I will like break down the like steps that one needs to prepare themselves for, like the series that I've done on my Instagram page. Please go like that page. It's called Sipe the Money Coach. I talk a lot about finances there, anything that has to do with money. There's been a current like series type of thing. Sorry for picking my nose, so it's itchy. There's a series that I've been running over there about buying a house. So I thought, let me share my personal experience about that, and I will do that. Oh, I'm sure you guys are asking tenants. So I inherited the tenants that were already in the property, because when I asked how long they've been there, I think they were there for like 3 years. And I went to personally meet them, and my agent has suggested that I must get a managing company to make sure that they monitor and everything like that. So I was like, let me meet them first and see if maybe we can't have a working relationship together. And then if we are, we'll continue. If I feel like it's going to be too much work, I can hand it over to a managing company. So I went to meet them, and I found them, they were very nice people, just not a young couple. They don't have kids that they stay with. They are just people. We talked, and then I drafted a lease agreement for them, and we talked rental and everything, and we have been fine. Our relationship is one of the best. I don't want to lie, we haven't had any issues. Every time there's anything that the body corporate wants to changes, or anything that needs to be fixed, I let them know. There hasn't been any issues. I told them that they can tell me. I haven't had late rental payments. Everything is on time. We are just a happy family, me and my tenants. So other than that, it works for me, it works for them, and they said they were so happy with me because I don't bother them like the last owner. But I didn't want to. I mean, people must feel like they're at home, they must enjoy their house. Anyway, yeah, it's long, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to cut it here. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you'll come back for another one. Please, guys, like the video so that we get more people to come watch this type of information. And hopefully I'm coming back with another one, which will be the steps of what you need to follow when you're buying a property. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.